Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and distinguished justice. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. "20 years ago, suddenly my grandfather had a stroke. For many years, he lay down a bed, gradually became unable to eat or to say anything. After his death this May, and even now, my mother has sometimes wondered, was my dad satisfied in his last minutes? She asked herself again and again, but never knew the answer because her father had no way to express his mind anymore. Seeing my mother in tears, I realized for the first time how important it was to know about our parents' wishes before they became soundless. Here, I have a question to you. Have you ever talked about how your family helped you spend your last minutes? If you have, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. As you see, actually this kind of dialogue is not occurring at large. As the Ministry of Life and Welfare shows, only less than 30% of the people have an experience of talking about the end-of-life care with their family in 2013. Thinking about your family's death is of course frightening, but you might regret it in the future if you keep avoiding it. So, with that in mind, I'm going to talk about the importance of having conversation with your family about the end of life. Since a long time ago, people have hoped to live longer, and we have a great success on it. Now there are always life-sustaining treatments like feeding tubes to give dying person a few more hours or days or even years before he or she actually dies. At the same time, dying has become not natural but more complex. In fact, life-sustaining treatment is often painful for our bodies or minds, so it cannot always be the best way for all of us. Of course, each person has a different idea on how they spend their last minutes, so everyone has a right to express to doctors how he or she wants to be treated within the law. However, once your family members cannot express their wish, who decides their last minutes instead? It's not our doctors, but you. Dr. Kamata, the head of Suwa Hospital, says, without showing your clear wish, even doctors cannot decide how to treat them or where to let them die. What if you don't know your parents' true wishes? In many cases, people regret the choice on their family's death, like my mother's case. I strongly believe that death is not only dying people's affair, but also the people left behind's our problem. Who cries when your family die? Who regrets? It's you. So, we should plan ahead to not regret in the future. Please have an end-of-life conversation with your family. By having conversations, you and your family can know and be satisfied with the choice. In a conversation, what is important is to reach a consensus because there may be a gap between your parents and your opinions. If you fail to have the same idea with your family, your mind might be troubled by the choice which you didn't take. But as you see, we usually don't want to talk about death in our daily life. But because of this, we can't get a chance to think deeply about your family's end of life. We think about it only after we lose our loved ones. It is rather sad, right? Well, I'm sorry. I feel like a devil who makes you feel sad, but actually, I'm not a devil. Believe me, I'm an angel who brings you happy news. You're lucky because you're here today. You've listened to my speech and already realized the importance of having conversation with your family. So, why don't you use my speech as a chance to bring up the matter in conversations? For example, when you come back home, how about saying, "Mom, I saw a speaker talking about the end-of-life decision. I don't want to regret in our final dates, so let's talk about this topic now while we can." After that, you can talk about this end of life more easily. After my grandfather's death, I made up my mind and asked my mother about her wish on her last period. Before the conversation, I believed that keeping her alive longer should be the best way for us. But then she said to me like this: "When the time comes, please let me die without painful life-sustaining treatments. I don't want to bother you." I was shocked to hear that at first, and I said desperately, "No, Mom, I want you to live. Please live longer. I'm willing to take care of you." "I'm happy to hear that," she said kindly. "But I want to live as myself until I die. I want to say goodbye to you as myself. You see?" Confirming her feeling many times, gradually I've got to know her true feelings. So now I'm sure to say I will respect her will when the time comes. If you know and are satisfied with the choice, you will have a courage to face their terminal life. Life seems to be long, but time is limited. Please listen to your family's will. Please listen before it became soundless. Thank you for listening.